What's up, guys? Coach Caglione here. This is another edition of the Powerlifting for the People podcast. We got Brad here on the line. How you doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So Brad's fresh off a contest, hit some PRs and did his first meet in wraps. But before we kind of get into that, I want to rewind a little bit and just quick intro, like who you are, a little bit about yourself, and kind of just how you kind of got into competing.
Yeah. So, I've been lifting for probably about 20 years. Kept me out of trouble. In the beginning, it was when I was younger, it was like either I was in the bars and, partying, or I was in the gym. I knew I couldn't do both. And there was times when I'd be, totally dedicated to the gym, no drinking, no partying with friends. And then I'd, slip a little bit, and, I could see my performance going down. And but I always wanted to compete, and I never did. I didn't compete for probably 15 years of my the first 15 years of my lifting career, just because I didn't think I was strong enough. I kept saying, one day, eat big. I can eat big to get big. Everybody that's doing it stronger than me. So, when I go, I'm going to beat everybody. I'm going to be the man, which, not going to happen. That's not the way it happens. But so finally, what got me into competing was I had an injury. I hurt broke my collarbone. I was over 300 pounds at the time. I was strong. I still didn't think I was I was to the point where I was able to compete yet. I had like a 405 bench, and my squat and deadlift kind of sucked at the time, but I still wasn't strong enough to compete, and broke my collarbone. Wanted to get healthy. My health was starting to go down. I was couldn't play with the kids as much. I couldn't do some of the stuff I wanted to do, so I started losing weight. Figured I'd lose some weight, and ended up losing 100 pounds over the whole journey, and going into my first competition, at like 215 from 300. And since then, I've been addicted. I've done 2 to 3 meets a year,
Amazing.
and yeah, look
So
forward to many more.
would you say that that injury kind of was the turning point where you kind of switched gears, or do you start to kind of feel, I guess, did that like kind of force you to stop and put things in perspective in terms of like, I need to get healthy, and maybe I'm pushing too hard, maybe I'm not going about this the right way? Was that kind of a turning point for you, or was there anything else that maybe you heard or kind of noticed that made you want to start to drop the weight?
I think the turning point was when I started to lose weight, and I started to like actually look like I went to the gym.
Sure.
And then people were starting, and my confidence started coming up, and then I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Everybody else thinks I'm ready, so why ain't I ready? And so it was like, I think as I lost weight, my confidence came up, and that's what pushed me to get into my first competition.
Yeah, I mean, they just say like, look good, feel good, and I think there's some truth to that. And I think like honestly, like it's a little bit different now, but I think especially like when we guys like us, guys our age and older, like started lifting, I think that a lot of us, we didn't just start because we wanted to power lift. We might have like looked up to like Arnold or looked up to some of these guys. And I think like, now like people maybe just get into powerlifting early on. I know like for me, like I got into lifting to help with my sports. Um, but I think a lot of people kind of maybe 35 plus, 40 plus, like they maybe looked up to Arnold and stuff like that. And maybe just also like maybe they wanted to move some weight, but they, I think also like wanted to like look better too. And there's a little bit more emphasis on like bodybuilding training kind of early on. So I think there is something to be said about like your perception of yourself. And sometimes we're our own worst critics. And I know for myself too, like, with my weight loss journey, I definitely got a lot more confident as I kind of started to look better. And you never really know what's underneath until you shed the fat. And it's pretty remarkable when you put in all that time with the heavy lifting, what kind of the muscle you've built and things like that. So I definitely want to kind of talk about your diet a little bit, because I know you have some, but before we do that, so you lost some weight, you started to get some confidence, and then you're like, okay, so what was the turning point where you wanted to sign up for a meet? And then when you signed up for your first meet, and then like, how long was that until you, I guess, reached out to me in terms of like, for like the online coaching? Like, what was like that
Yeah.
timeline?
So I my when I say I'm going to do something, I'm just all in. And so I said I'm going to do a meet. I knew if I, you know, I started following some people, you know, Larry Wheels at the time, and
Yeah.
you were Larry Wheels' coach. Larry Wheels was like the superstar. You
Yeah.
know, you guys were setting world records, and I said, well, shit, if I want to do this, I'm going to do it right. And I actually called you. You know, you were my going in my first meet. You know, you were my online coach. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to do it in person. My job, I travel a lot, so it's hard for me to get into one gym and stay.
Sure.
So that's why the online was critical for me. Um, and you know, I we talked. I think we worked together from October of 20 to my first meet was in February of 21, I think. And you know, we killed it ever since then. I think we did 2 or 3 meets together, and I did a couple on my own. And then I had the opportunity to come up here, and I'm working, you know, where your gym is up here in Long Island, and you know, we got back together, and it's been a blast since.
It's been a lot of fun and it's been cool. I want to rewind a little bit, so I definitely want to come back to recent time. But I want to, if you could remember, so a couple of things that were like very that highlighted, I guess that like I took notice of. So number one, you were very like kind of meticulous with like tracking everything, which is great. So I think it's really important that people, like, if you do work with an online coach, just realize like the coach is not going to do the work for you. The coach is not going to track your sets and reps for you. They can only coach what you give them. So that's number one. And then the other thing I thought was really cool is that we have like a team dinner every year, and I remember you actually flew up for that, which was, you know, so you took it very seriously, as serious I think as you could. So if someone is, you know, I want to, like, you know, if someone's kind of investing in an online program, like
Yeah.
what are some things that you found that were beneficial, and maybe like that either I provided or that you actually did? Because I think that you executed it really well. And again, the programming was kind of simple when we started out, and obviously what we're doing now is a lot more advanced, and part of that is being in person. But so what were some things that you found really beneficial, both on your end that you did that you felt was helpful, and also maybe that, you know, I provided, like with the initial like kind of remote coaching?
Yeah. So, I think there's definitely different levels to this. And in the beginning, I think everybody needs some type of coaching because there's so many misconceptions to what powerlifting actually is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, I didn't, I lifted for 15 years. I didn't know what a sport of powerlifting was, you know, until I got with you. And, you know, so to learn the sport
Yeah.
and figure out your way into it, you know, you need some type of guidance. And then, you know, so for me, we did a couple meets together. Um, you worked with me through the strength programming. At the time, you were also on your way down to 198. I kind of had a goal to go down to 198, so we were both kind of working our way down to 198 together. Uh, you were like, you know, you kept advising me, you know, no real reason to cut weight for a meet unless you're going for some records or something. So, you know, it was like every meet, I'm like, oh, what do you think about cutting, coach? And nah. So I think that my first and second meet, we competed in 100 kilo, 220. I was a light 220, but, you know, I was still setting state records and, you know, winning my class. And then I did my first Iron Nightmare, my third meet. I went ahead and cut down to 198. And it was a good experience. I totaled, it was my lowest total out of the 3 meets, but it was a PR in the 90 kilo class, right? And that's the way I look at everything. You know, it's you know, you can't keep PR in one area. So it's nice to grab a couple PRs in different, you know, classes. So since then I've competed in 90 kilo, 100 kilo, 110 kilo. And in this most recent meet, I was planning to compete in the 120, but we had to switch gears and I ended up doing the 110 again. But as far as the coaching goes, you know, everybody needs some type of guidance to get into it, just to learn the sport and figure out what it is. And then I did it for a couple programs, a couple meets from on my own. It was all right. You know, I still put added pounds to my PR, but I wanted to go to the next level. And, to go to the next level, you need some type of coaching also, I think. And then this meet really showed me the importance of having,
The crew.
I'm at the point now where a crew and a handler. My wife's great and she does everything for me at the meet that she can, but she can't, you might have called my numbers different. Who knows? Some things may have worked out different. Having a coach at a meet with you takes so much mental stress off of you. I was back trying to figure out my numbers, trying to, I knew what I needed, trying to figure out what I needed to hit. So like to go to the next level, you need somebody with you.
Yeah, and then I love all that. So a couple things I want to highlight is number one, like if you're like adjusting weight classes or you're in a different age bracket, you got to like be realistic on like you can have all-time PRs, but then like have body weight class PRs. Have if you go from open to masters or if you go from teenage to juniors, set different PRs for different categories. You just did a meet and wrap, so like your sleeve versus wrap numbers are going to be different. I know we talked about potentially getting into some multiply equipment, some equipped lifting. So all those are going to be different. What's nice about that, it provides a different challenge, which I think is because ultimately that's why we're doing this. We want to challenge ourselves. We want to get stronger. We want to get better. So in terms of some things that you found in particular beneficial. So obviously we did form review, and then obviously as your form got more dialed in, we kind of, there was maybe some feedback, game plan selection. Like what were some aspects of the online coaching that you found in particular, like very helpful, and maybe some things to look out for if someone is like looking to do online coaching themselves?
So the biggest benefactor that I got from the online coaching, to be honest, was the very first video call we did. And, it was, I sent you my lifts. I sent you my videos of my lifts. And, right away you sent the critique back. And, I think at the time I sent you a video of like a 455 deadlift. It was, it was an 8-rep max and it was a touch and go, and you're like, all right, yeah, maybe we'll start here, and each of my lifts was like, we started a lot lower than what I thought I needed to. And, I trusted you, the process, because that's what I'm paying for, right? I'm not going to pay somebody to give me guidance and then just do what I want to do. That don't make, I might as well just not pay you, right? And so we started a lot lower than what I thought I needed to. And, we worked on like form, and just, controlling the weights and, learning what to expect at the meet, and lifting to the standards of what you're going to be held to at the meet, and then you don't always like it, when you hear that rep was no good, or, you need to get deeper, and there's only so much online that you can do, and that's where, coming in now and being with you in the gym is so much more beneficial.
Yeah, I think for people that are starting out, like starting lighter than you think, I think is great advice. Work on the technique first, because if the weights are too heavy, it's going to be really hard to work on the technique, and then build up gradually over time. So usually we kind of start off with like, and again, I'm like a West Side guy through and through, but I think just doing a very basic linear progression for people starting out and just really refining, because you have to get good at the lifts first. Like that's like number one. You have to lift, like you said, to a contest standard. You got to get good at bench squatting and deadlifting. And then over time, now you have a baseline of skill. We could add in more variety. We could add in more max effort work. We could add in more bands and chains and bells and whistles and stuff. And then we could attack certain weaknesses. Very cool. So you had this experience with online coaching. You did some stuff on your own. Now you had this opportunity that you're working in the area. So what was it like going from training by yourself to now you're training with a crew? You're getting, not with online coaching, a lot of it's like kind of after the fact. So now you're getting cued in person live, and you're getting more modifications like actually day to day and moment to moment. So I know it's like a lot, we can kind of dissect it piece by piece, but what are some things that you've kind of noticed this past training cycle that you've kind of enjoyed, or maybe some things that you've kind of picked up that maybe you weren't even aware of when you first came in?
Yeah. So to me, lifting is, lifting is my life. And, I kind of look at life like I do lifting a lot. And in life, you need community, right? Like nobody survives on their own. Nobody, everybody has a tribe that they're a part of, your family, whatever. And that's what, in lifting, that's what the gym is. You got to have, you can do so much more with people behind you, people helping out. I hate CrossFit, but a few years ago I did CrossFit and I loved it because the community was just so great. I mean, it was like everybody was there for everybody. And, that's if you go to Crunch or 24, that's not like, that's a gym, but it's not like a gym, like a private gym, like you go, like, what we got with you. Everybody's there. We come together. We have team workouts. We're there for each other. And that's just such a huge boost. And it's competitive. It brings the competitiveness too. It makes you want to be better because everybody wants to be at the top. So, everybody builds off everybody's momentum.
I love that. Yeah, I think CrossFit has done one of the most the best job in terms of kind of building a community and camaraderie. I think sometimes it is a double-edged sword. So if you have a really good crew, and you could speak to this a little bit, you're going to get that positive energy. You're going to get the support of the crew, but also it's not just about being a cheerleader. Like sometimes I'm going to say like, hey, your butt's got to stay on the bench. Hey, like you got to get deeper. Hey, let's take some weight off. Hey, today's the day to push. I got your back, So there's like give and take. Like sometimes I'm gonna we gotta be like when we're getting ready for the meet, you don't feel great, but we gotta take your second attempt today, or we gotta take your opener, and like we just gotta figure out a way to get it done. We're gonna add a reverse band. We're gonna do whatever. And sometimes if it's like a building phase and like you're supposed to be doing higher reps or more volume, be like, hey, you're going a little bit too much intensity today, or your form is breaking down. Let's pull some weight back. Or I know you had like a little, I think hamstring tweak. So I know you feel good, but let's like save it for, so maybe you can kind of speak to some of like the auto regulation and some of like the feedback that you've been getting from the crew.
Yeah. So, I mean, just being like before when I'm working out by myself, if I felt good, I just keep adding weight, and being there with the crew and working on the same program as everybody else. All right, this is what we got today. When we hit the top number, we're going to do our back down sets, and that's it. The workout, and next week we'll add the weight. It's linear progression, right? And instead of getting it all today, because that's when things happen. Little tweaks, and that'll put you. If you're too close to a meet, that could be the end of everything that you worked for. So like just somebody, there to kind of hold me back a little bit. And then like when I'm squatting, when I'm walking up to the squat rack, I'm aware of the weight that's on it, but like I didn't load it, so I'm not really sure of the weight. So I'm not thinking about like, oh, this is a close to a 10, close to a PR or whatever. I'm not thinking about none of that. It's just I know I got to go up there and I got to do two reps, and then it's the next guy's, right? So it's just the mental, feeling of relief of that is huge.
Yeah, knowing that you're safe and knowing that like you trust the people that are spotting you is huge. I think that's something that one of the things I've been trying to do, like, I coming from that equipped lifting background, I've done 1,000-pound squat in training and things like that. And I've also missed 1,000-pound squat in training, and I'm still alive. I had that scare with Larry a couple years back where I dumped, a bench backwards and he was able to catch it. So having people that are like attentive and know what they're doing is huge. And that gives you a lot of mental confidence to like not be afraid of the weight, and you're just get focused on execution, which is big. And outside,
I think my first day with you guys, the whole reason I showed up at the gym, you had a rap seminar, and I wanted to get in raps for this meet, and so that Sunday morning we got underneath the monolift, and my first time in raps, I almost dumped it. They had to catch the weight on me. I just wasn't prepared for my hip shot up, or my knees shot out faster than my hips did.
Yeah,
and I got a little bit out of line. The guys caught it. You told me what I did wrong. I corrected, and it's been great. So
yeah. And then sometimes like when you're adding like, because again, sometimes people like, even though like knee wraps is like considered raw, it's still equipment and there's a skill to it. And if you're trying to do that by yourself, there is like a safety concern. So I think when you start to add in knee wraps, when you start to add in squat suits and bench shirts and stuff, the more equipment you add, the more of a skill component there is, and the more critical like training with the crew is. So like as an equipped lifter, you almost like had to train with the crew, but now with like the sleeved era, this raw era, a lot of people have lost sight of that. But I do think that the raw lifting community could still benefit from the crew. And that's one of the take home messages I'm trying to get out there. So hopefully this, podcast like this will help. Outside of the environment, outside of like the live coaching, outside of the team support, anything from like exercise selection or obviously this was your first meet in wraps, anything in particular, like from exercise standpoint, from a programming standpoint, from a recovery standpoint that you felt has been like maybe beneficial, that maybe you learned this last prep, or something that you felt like was helped you out kind of going into this last meet?
Yeah, so going to the typical crunch gyms, I don't have very much variety. My bench is a straight bar bench with the plates loaded, and so we've added a lot of chain variation in, band tension variation, and you don't have to go as heavy on the weight. So in the weaker positions down in the bottom, you're a little bit safe. You're not as much tear on your joints, and in the stronger positions, you got the extra weight that you need to build up. And so yeah, working with you and learning how to implement that. Now, when I do have to leave, I'll be able to hopefully implement some of this stuff on my own in the gym with just some bands.
Yeah.
And add a little bit more variety into my workouts, so I can have the different blocks or the different ways, because I think that's, really important as you advance too, that you add in, more variation just to save your shoulders and hips and knees. And
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think learning to do some of that stuff in person, because it could be kind of tricky. You try to watch videos, but you're not really sure like how much tension is it. And so now you have a little bit of experience, so you can kind of know, okay, this tension is too much, or this tension may be too light. You have a little bit of, so I think learning and doing it in person is great. So from start to finish, I know you added like somewhere between, you've put on like 200 to 300 pounds on your total since your first Iron Nightmare. You had a couple of, tough calls. The bench was a little squirrely, but he had a couple of records. So maybe kind of walk us through maybe like, from your first meet to this last meet, some things that you've learned, and maybe how you've been able to, how like this, maybe just kind of recap like how this meet went well, and maybe I guess some advice for people if they're kind of, competing for the first time. So,
yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can go.
My first Iron Nightmare meet, I competed in the 90 kilo class. It was my only meet that I did at 198. And I did a pretty significant. At the time, it was significant. I think I did like a 12-pound water cut, kind of on my own. It was, you wasn't really. I think I told you after the meet, oh yeah, I cut down to 198. You gave me the thumbs up. Everything, thankfully went all right. But it was 1323 was my total. Because of the water cut, I had a lot of swelling in my hands. I missed my last deadlift. I had some issues. But 1323 and 90 kilo, it was a PR. It was I felt great. Fast forward to this past meet, I totaled 1565. So a little over 200-pound PR. I also did a water cut. A little bit more guidance from you on this one.
Yep.
Went a lot better. No more, no swelling the next day of the meet. No issues like that. And it was my first meet in wraps, so that was a huge PR. It was just the build. When we started this, we said this wasn't going to be like the it meet, right? We're going to use this as a bouncing block to the next one.
Yep.
I got into wraps this meet. We're going to build into the next meet towards the end of the year, and we're just going to keep the momentum going. This meet, I was able to get the the squat state record, deadlift state record, and the total state record.
Awesome.
In the masters class,
And
110 kilos. So
in terms of like preparation, like as far as if someone was like looking to transition into wraps from raw, obviously like you went to a seminar, you had a little bit of a I don't know if it was a rude awakening, but you kind of realized that you couldn't just throw the wraps on and squat 100 pounds more, right? So do you have any advice for someone that's maybe looking to transition into knee wraps, or maybe some tips that you found that were helpful?
Yeah, so I was at the meet. There was a guy that obviously he was learning it on his own. He was in wraps, and it looked like he had an ace bandage, and it started at his ankle, and it went,
Yeah.
up to his thigh. And I was like, obviously he had no clue what he was doing, and
Yeah.
so I gave him some pointers, and I think that everybody find a seminar that you can watch online, but find some place, go to a seminar, lift with a crew that's gonna help you out, give you the pointers you need, and yeah, because like you said, at the end of the day, it is equipment. You're adding equipment, so you got it's different.
Cool. Um, any advice for people that are like looking to compete? Like, as far as if you could maybe tell yourself, would you maybe start it earlier, or do you feel like you needed to take that time? If someone was on the fence of like doing a meet, what would you tell them?
It's you against you. It's if you've never done a meet, you're gonna win. It's gonna be a PR. Your first meet's a PR, and you can only build off of that. So don't think about you going there. Don't worry about open powerlifting. Don't worry about nobody else's numbers. Do what you can do, and then the next meet do better, and the next meet do better, and then at some point you'll have a little bit of competition. You'll be competing against the same people meet after meet, and it'll be a friendly competition. But in the beginning, it's you against you.
Awesome. I love that. And then, so I want to kind of definitely kind of bring this point home as far as like kind of the online coaching in-person thing. If someone had the option to do one or the other, or like what would you advice would you like, when do you think like one would be more appropriate? Because I know you mentioned like when I was traveling a lot, this was really good, but now you're like have the opportunity to train with the crew. Because some people like,
Yeah.
and this is not nothing against anyone, but this is something I kind of push back on. I think our program is great. I think there's a lot of great programs out there. I think a lot of great programs work. It's not about West Side or linear or undulating or DUP or all these things work. They've been proven to work. Otherwise, every all-time record holder would be on the same program. But I think it's how you execute it. It's the people that are around you. It's your technique, and it's what's going on between your ears. Are you going to stick with it long enough? Are you going to stay injury-free long enough? So I kind of wish more people would focus more on executing their lifts, proper exercise selection for them, learning to auto-regulate. So you've kind of done both. If you can kind of do one or the other, or like what situation would be more appropriate for like kind of the in-person training versus, the remote program.
Yeah. So for me, if I could always have a home gym, a home crew, that'd be the way. I would have done it from the beginning. Again, community is real big for me. Family's big for me. Unfortunately, since I do travel, online is what I'm forced to use. But that's a great option. It'll definitely, a lot of people they're looking for accountability. They need somebody to tell them they're doing good. It's at the end of the day, at the beginning, I think at the beginner stage, it's more about accountability. It's more about the push, the thumbs up, just to keep going. And then, you advance into the point where like now you're part of the program, and you're calling your coach, and you're getting feedback, and you're looking for pointers. And, that's when things really start to work. And that's like at that point, a crew is the way to go if you can. When you're to the point where you're that much in, that you're wanting feedback, then crew's the way to go. And then if you want to keep going, you got to have a coach. You got to have somebody that works with you. That's all there is to it. At some point, like you can't do it on your own no more. Just from the recovery and training, and traveling, it's a lot.
Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. It's been awesome, like, spending time with you and getting to train with you. And, obviously we have a lot of like kind of similarities in our weight loss and our, the amount of time when we've been training, and, you did a bodybuilding show as well. So, I mean, it's been really cool. And, like I said, I think it's just fun. It's been fun lifting with you. So I think that's a big thing too. Like if you could have fun with it, the shit is hard. So if you could have fun with it, man, and you could do it with people that you care about and people that support you, you're going to stick with it. So, Very well said,
And that's
man.
what I told my wife. I'm looking forward to the equip. I'm gonna definitely get into some equip lifting with you. It's like I'm here. You're one of the best. You've been doing it for how long? I'd be for me. It's education. I'm not paying for a gym membership. I'm paying for an education from somebody that knows what he's talking about. And the longer I can stay in school, the longer I'm going to be here. It's like I can get a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in it. It's like how long can I? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, always be learning. I love that's a great mindset to have. And same thing for me. Like, I try to have that white belt mentality because if you kind of feel like you know it all, then you don't have it right. So always be looking to advance, always looking to learn. So I think that's a good place
Yeah.
to put a pin in it. But thank you, Brad. If you guys enjoyed the podcast, please share it. Please give it a 5-star review if you liked it, and check out the description below if you want to support us. Thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.